Volkswagen has promised to replace its iconic Type 2 van more times than you may remember. There was the Microbus concept in 2001, and then the Bully and the Buddy concepts of the last decade. Finally, in 2017, we had the all-electric ID Buzz concept, which looked the most retro of the lot. And so enthusiastic was the reception for that one that this time it's actually going to be built.
So here it is, Volkswagen's iconic 1950 Type 2 camper reimagined for the 21st century. Call it the Microbus or the hippy van. They call it the ID Buzz, or in the case of the commercial version, the ID Buzz Cargo. It goes into production in Germany this year. It comes to the UK market in the autumn. This is the standard wheelbase version. There will be a long wheelbase version as well as a camper and possibly a four-wheel drive GTX, who knows. For now, you can have 5 seats in the passenger car version or 3 seats across the front in the cargo. So you might have noticed the styling of this car is a little bit more toned down than the 2017 original ID Buzz concept was. It's also a slightly bigger car than that car was, and it's got squarer corners, both because obviously that makes for a bit more interior space, which is all important in this sort of vehicle. It's still got the very upright grille, which makes it recognisable. It's got a fairly upright windscreen, certainly feels that way when you're sat inside it, and it's got a sort of an effort at that V-shaped frontal graphic, which was so recognisable from the original 50s Type 2. What it hasn't got is the same dinky little inboard wheelbase that car has, because it very famously had a forward controlled driving position. When you were sat in that car, you were sat ahead of the front wheels. That kind of design isn't crash safe anymore. You can't make cars like that, so Volkswagen hasn't tried. The most important thing is that this is a modern Volkswagen, and they've brought the concept of that original right up to date. And the car looks contemporary. It's got enough visual nods to the original Type 2, I think, but it looks like a modern car, and that's the most important thing. So Volkswagen has been a little bit tight-lipped on some of the technical detail on this car for the time being. We're going to get more very soon. What it has told us is overall vehicle dimensions. So we know it's bigger than the concept car. This one is just over 1.9 metres tall, just over 4.7 metres long. So it's a little bit bigger and taller than the biggest Citroën Berlingo, but it's not quite as big as a Ford Transit or a Renault Traffic, or those kind of more typical box vans. It's supposed to be a happy medium, I suppose, on your sort of commercial vehicle, recreational vehicle size, but it's still big enough to get 2 Euro pallets in the back in the van, and there's obviously more to come from the long wheelbase version. So the car uses Volkswagen's all-electric MEB platform as its basis, which means it's related to the ID3, 4 and 5. Like the original 50s Type 2, it's rear-engined, but of course this car has a 200 horsepower electric motor, not an 1100cc 24 horsepower Beetle engine. It's got a 77 kilowatt hour battery under the floor. They reckon that'll be good for about 250 miles on the WLTP cycle. In terms of boot space, the van will offer 4 square metres of boot space, which is a lot. You have to remember though, your surfboard is supposed to go on the roof. Okay viewers, it's time for some van life. This is the ID Buzz Cargo. This is the commercial version. It's different to the passenger car only in as much as this version is obviously rated for 600 and something kilos of payload, so the rear suspension tuning is a little bit different. But I've been driving it for a few minutes now, and it's still a very comfortable vehicle. It's surprisingly smooth and quiet and well mannered for a big car. You look at it and you think, well, that's a van, I know how that's going to drive. You might be surprised when you drive an ID Buzz, because it's refined, it's easygoing, it's pleasant. The sort of car you could do a long journey in, filled with all of your family and all of your clutter and your bits and bobs, and really not feel it. They've put a lot of work into the seat comfort, so the car's got these ergonomically designed seats, so you can do a long journey and your back's fine, you don't really feel the need to stop, and the controls are well laid out, and it's going to be quite a high-end vehicle as well. So unlike some sort of commercial conversions, this car's going to have all the bells and whistles. You're going to have wireless charging pad, you're going to have ambient lighting, you're going to have this 12 inches of infotainment touchscreen if you want them. It's going to feel like quite an upmarket big car. I think that's important, because Well, it's certainly going to be priced like one. Is it fun? That's a good question. It's a big car. It feels like a big car. It doesn't feel like a little sort of nippy electric super mini. You wouldn't expect it to. Just because the electric motor, you come to it and you think, oh, this is going to be fun, it's going to be zippy, I'm going to enjoy this. I think you will, but it's not like driving a Tesla, this car. People won't expect it to be, but yeah. The best you can hope, I think, with a big car like this is that you can enjoy driving it. You can look forward to driving it, look forward to long drives in it and use it whenever you can. And it's a facilitator of the fun you have in your life in a wider sense, isn't it? It's you own one of these because you do lots of fun things at the weekend. And yeah, you enjoy driving it, probably more than you would, you know, a diesel-engined Peugeot Partner or something, you know, the kind of the van that you might have had previously. I think this is going to feel like a step up for a lot of people who are used to vans. But the interesting thing is, in a year or two's time, as this car develops, we're going to see more and more versions of it. There's going to be four-wheel drive versions of it, twin motor versions of it, more power, more sort of exotic styling, I dare say, and more equipment and more desirability. So all of that's to come.
There may be a limit to the amount of fun you can have driving a minibus then, but there's certainly a lot of fun you can have because of one. And as a refined, versatile, surprisingly manoeuvrable zero-emissions lifestyle vehicle, the Volkswagen ID Buzz is the kind of car that you could do a lot with, wherever there are charging options to support it, of course. The car comes to the UK market in autumn 2022, and it won't be cheap. Expect launch edition versions to be priced above £50,000, with slightly cheaper ones, as well as a lot of others to come along a bit later. For that price, you'll need to really want one, and only time will tell whether Wolfsburg has done enough here to make this car a really desirable inheritor of the legacy of the revered Type 2 Microbus. The market for recreational vehicles is growing strongly though, so maybe Volkswagen's timing is just right.